Hello creative cooks, welcome or welcome back to another episode of the Creative Phebe Cooks channel. I hope you're doing phenomenal and excited for the week ahead. First up, I really want to take this time to apologize for uploading this video later than I had announced. I'm trying to keep up with so many different timelines, the 30-day high protein breakfast challenge I'm running all throughout November, and just so many other things. I know it sounds like Phoebe, you have a lot on your plate, and yes I do, but I'm committed to this and I want to make sure that I'm respecting your time, and that's important to me. So I appreciate you for understanding, and with that, I hope today's video is going to be worth it. Really, I really hope so for you. Today I'm sharing one of my newest recipes for the fall winter season, and it's this very tasteful and satiating butternut squash / pumpkin red lentil soup. I mean, check out that vibrant color. The dish is extremely budget friendly, naturally high in protein, thanks to the red lentils as well as the coconut milk I'll be using in this recipe. It's also a great recipe to make in advance so you can have it for dinner, especially if you have a busy schedule and don't feel excited to make a meal from scratch after a long day at work or a trip. Alright, with that said, let's get to making this pumpkin red lentil soup. But before that, first I need to preheat my oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit to roast the butternut squash, which will give the soup an elevated flavor, that roasted taste that cannot be replicated. Here I have one large butternut squash, but I suppose you can also use pie pumpkin or kabocha squash to make this recipe. If you'd like tips on what to look out for when shopping for butternut squash, I have a video tagged at the top right hand corner of your screen to check that out. Alright, cut the butternut squash in half and scoop out the seeds to save for snacking or sewing for the next pumpkin season. Later, halved butternut squash cut side up or down on a parchment lined baking sheet and transfer to the oven to bake for 1 hour or until the flesh of the pumpkin is very well softened. A great way to check it out is to pierce it with a fork, and I'll show you how I did that later on in this video before I start making the soup. While the pumpkin is roasting, I'm gonna make the base for this soup, which is a combination of onions, garlic, Honeycrisp apple, and ginger. Now this combo is very magical. I mean, it gives the dish the quintessential aroma of autumn, and I highly doubt that this dish will taste the same if you omit any one of these ingredients. But as always, and no matter what, the goal is to be creative. You can replace the apple with pear, but definitely not onion powder for fresh onions. After peeling the onions and garlic and removing the core of the apple, roughly chop them up together with a fresh ginger root, skin and all, and add them to a food processor or a blender, whichever one you own. You can go ahead and blend the components before moving on to the next ingredients, but I'm gonna wait until I'm done using the chopping board for efficiency. Next, rinse the red lentils for about 3 to 4 times until the water runs clean and clear. Other types of lentils will not work well for this recipe because they each require different cooking times. I mean, you can experiment with them, but for the goal I am aiming for in this recipe, the goal is to achieve monochrome for this dish. So I'm not sure if green lentils or brown lentils would work well for this recipe. If you'd like to try it out, let me know. Let all of us know in the comment section below. Red lentils cook in quite a short amount of time, They taste great with pumpkin, and it's a super budget friendly and a plant based high protein ingredient that will help bulk up the soup as well as match the orange color theme I'm going for here. After washing the red lentils, add more water to the bowl with the red lentils, at least 3 inches above the level of the red lentils to give the lentils time to soak and soften before cooking them. Here I have a fresh turmeric root. I'm going to grate about 25 grams of it. Now if you have a glass blender, you can blend the turmeric together with the apples and the onions combo. If not, grate it separately to prevent its color from staining your food processor, especially if it's made of plastic. I decided to omit it because I really did not want to stain my food processor. I'm also going to make some fresh lime juice to balance the flavors of the various ingredients I'm going to be using to make this soup. You'll need about 2 to 4 limes to make a good amount of fresh lime juice. To help extract as much juice out of your limes, roll them on your chopping board or on a clean work surface. If you're out of limes, you can also use fresh lemon juice if that's what you have on hand. Now that I'm done making the lime juice, I'm going to blend the ingredients I added to the food processor earlier on until the combo turns slurry. Now doing this will help break down as much of the ingredients for the soup, so you can have the option to not blend the soup when it's done cooking. I rinse the processor with some water to make sure the sweetness makes its way to the pot and not to the sink, because it all is part of the amount of ingredients I need. Lastly, before I start cooking and before checking on the pumpkin, I'll make a quick spice blend I came up with for this soup. In a mixing bowl or a ramekin, combine together some fennel seed powder, cinnamon powder, paprika powder, cardamom powder, allspice powder, nutmeg powder, coarse sea salt, ground black pepper, and if you want extra heat, I'm going to add in 1 red habanero pepper. Feel free to omit it if your spice tolerance is low, that's okay. If you happen to like this spice blend, you can also use it to make your stews, to season your fresh meats, fish. If you do not subscribe to a vegan diet, and that is okay, you can also use it to season your favorite grains like buckwheat, maybe some spiced rice. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Once the butternut squash is done roasting, it will be slightly caramelized. Allow it to cool for about 10 to 15 minutes, then scoop out the softened flesh and store in an airtight container, then in the fridge or freezer for later use for various pumpkin recipes. If you've been following my channel for a while, you've seen a few pumpkin recipes I've shared here and there, and a few of them include pumpkin spiced donuts, pumpkin granola, pumpkin chia pudding, or this pumpkin lentil soup I'll be making in a few minutes. You can watch the full recipes for all those pumpkin flavored recipes I just mentioned on my blog or here on YouTube by just typing in the terms I just mentioned. In this episode, I did prepare the butternut squash puree a few days prior to filming to save time. Now, if you're new to meal prep, this may have felt like a long preparation process, but quite honestly, I feel like this is the beauty of batch meal prep, where you get to buy your ingredients in bulk and cook in bulk to get delicious meals that will last you at least 5 days to 2 weeks if you want, especially if you choose to eat the meals that you make in different ways on alternate days. Please share your perspectives in the comment section below. If you have a different process, do you like to cook meals fresh on the day of, or at least 2 to 3 days in advance, or you just want to make your meals like 2 weeks out? Let me know. We would all love to know. While you're on your way to the comment section, please give this video a huge thumbs up if you're loving it, and most definitely if you're learning something from it. Let me know. I want to hear it from you. Let's continue the interaction in the comment section below. In addition to that, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this and don't want to miss any delicious high protein and plant-based recipes that have the power to support your diet, your entire well-being, your fitness, your lifestyle, your mood, all of that. Thank you so much in advance for joining the community. Turn on your stove to a medium-high heat and warm up a large stock pot. To the stock pot, add in coconut oil, the slurry apple onion mixture, the spice mix, and the grated turmeric. In this video, I forgot to add in turmeric, but I added it a bit later during the sauteing process. Stir this mix and saute it for about 5 to 7 minutes until most of the liquid has evaporated and the mixture becomes very aromatic, similar to apple pie, due to the presence of the Honeycrisp apples in this recipe. Now, if you want more heat, feel free to crush the habanero pepper. If not, leave it untouched. You know me, I definitely mashed it more than a little bit because I want that extra heat. If you leave it untouched, it will not make your soup spicy, it will just lend flavor to the recipe. I had some sweet red pepper stock on hand, which I made by roasting some sweet bell peppers with onions, garlic, and a few seasonings. Add a bit of it to this sauteing goodness to form a thick mixture which truly elevates the flavor profile of the soup. Now, if you're not a fan of tomato sauce, you can also use this red pepper sauce as pizza sauce or as a tasty base for stews or sandwich spread. I mean, the taste is quite robust. And I have a recipe for it, you know it, on my blog. That's the turmeric I grated earlier. Mix it all in and see how thick this soup base is turning out to be. The thicker this base gets, the more the flavor intensifies. So keep in mind not to rush this step of the recipe making so you can reap the rewards later on. Trust me, it's absolutely worth it. Next, I'm adding in some homemade vegetable stock, which is quite frankly one of my most indispensable ingredients I use for my soups and stews. And of course, I do have a recipe for that on my blog and also in the info card that just popped up. Next, I'm adding in some fresh coconut milk after giving it a really good shake to make sure the water content and the fat content get a really good mix in. Pour it into the pot and stir the contents well and bring to a simmer for about 5 minutes. If you prefer, you may swap the coconut milk for another milk of your choice. But in this recipe, I'm going to be really honest with you. The flavor of the coconut milk and the coconut oil really complements the taste of the pumpkin, the red pepper stock, and all of that. It just makes so much sense. The coconut helps make the soup taste even more refreshing and tropical. I want to compare it to a curry. You know that freshness you get from like a coconut curry? Oh my goodness. That's what I'm talking about. Hey there. I wanted to let you know that I'm currently running a 30-day high protein breakfast recipe challenge all throughout November. And I want to thank everyone who has been participating, reposting, making the recipes. I appreciate you all. If you're hearing this for the first time, no worries. Feel free to check out my YouTube page under the Shorts tab or follow me on TikTok so you can catch up on anything that you've missed. So after that, let me know in the comment section below or responding to that poll I added to the community tab on YouTube a few weeks ago relating to the 30-day high protein plant-based breakfast challenge. If you'd like to see more quick and easy breakfast recipes or like meal prep breakfast recipes for a busy schedule, I'm happy to consider your suggestions. Also, one more thing. When I posted that poll like 2 weeks ago in anticipation of starting the 30-day high protein breakfast series, I asked y'all what it is that you'd like to see more of here on this channel. If you'd like an ebook, live sessions, workshops, and a few of y'all liked, those different options. But I saw that a lot of you guys would like a live session. I'm working out my schedule to see how I can accommodate that in addition to producing long form videos and short form videos. And I also see that a lot of y'all will like an ebook. So in light of the 30-day high protein breakfast challenge, would you be interested in getting an ebook focused on high protein breakfast recipes, all plant-based recipes, all laid out? You might have a weekly planner with it. I don't know yet, but let me know in the comment section below if that's something you'd be interested in. And if that's the case, I will keep you updated on what the process will look like for that. With all that said and all this announcement, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you. And let's get to it. All right, let's do that. Next, I'm adding in some of that roasted pumpkin puree, red lentils that has been drained for a bit while the cooking process was taking place, as well as some water, fresh, filtered or spring water. Stir the contents well, cover the pot, and let the contents bubble and cook for about 12 to 15 minutes until the red lentils are softened. Everything else is cooked. All that was remaining was the red lentils, and now they're all done. I'm going to stir in the fresh lime juice I made earlier on, and this is a good time to also taste the soup. Taste to adjust any seasonings. If you feel like you need to add more salt, if you feel like you need to add more spice, this is the right time to do that. At this point, the soup is a bit chunky, which is fine if you don't mind, but I'll be blending mine mildly to make the soup more creamy. If you wish to blend the soup, once everything tastes right, turn off the stove and use an immersion blender. That will make your life much easier instead of rolling out that large container appliance of a blender to blend this entire soup. So just blend your soup using an immersion blender until it turns creamy and as smooth as you prefer. Now that we're done blending, creative cooks, I'm not going to waste any more time. I mean, there you have it. A hearty bowl of pumpkin lentil soup. I say pumpkin because honestly, you can use any kind of pumpkin you want to use to make this soup. This one specifically is a butternut squash red lentil soup that is perfect on a cold day, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere. This soup will help replenish your body tissues, especially if you're trying to level up your fitness goals without compromising your protein goals on a plant-based diet. This pumpkin red lentil soup will provide you about 4 to 5 servings, which will last you throughout the entire week. And one serving will amount to about 20 grams of protein. You can level that up if you want to have this with protein noodles or protein rich bread, or maybe if you want to add some yogurt to it. Honestly, you can serve it as you prefer, as however you fancy. And that's it, Creative Cooks. I really appreciate you for tuning in and watching the entire episode. If you did, comment below with a bowl of soup. You are the real one, and I really appreciate you. And with that, we'll chat again in my next episode. Be sure to stay tuned for my 30-day high protein breakfast series so you can always get inspired on what next to make for breakfast. All right, we'll chat again in my next episode. Later!